Welcome back to Capitol Tonight. We want to jump right into our conversation with our political analyst, Ed Espinoza with Progress Texas, and Republican analyst Ted DeLisi. Thank you both for being with us. What a debate. It started with fireworks. What stood out for you? I'll start with you, Ed.
The food fight stood out to me.
Yeah.
Guzman and Bush going at each other like they did. You never know how these debates are going to go. Is there going to be decorum? Are they going to really have more of an academic style debate? No way. This was those two going at each other with Louis Gohmert kind of playing the role of Admiral Stockdale in this one, just kind of watching the ping pong match happen around him. So yeah, lots of fireworks. You call it fireworks, I call it a food fight. Either way, it was a big mess.
What do you call it, Ted?
I mean, the fur was flying early and often, and I look, you know, they're in the latest Dallas Morning News poll, you know, General Paxton's at 39%, and that means that 6 out of 10 voters are already preferring some of their candidates. So now the question is, who can get into the runoff with Paxton? So I think sort of conventional wisdom would be, oh, these candidates are all going to try to differentiate themselves from Paxton, and they've sort of been doing that. But now it's about who can get into second place. And what we saw tonight was a really no holds barred, you know, those candidates going after each other. And obviously the race is very close. You know, we saw that Commissioner Bush basically said, I'm going to be in the runoff, but it didn't seem like it tonight, because if he really thought he was going to be in the runoff, I think he would have spent more time kind of attacking Guzman. And Guzman, I think, sort of was maybe a little bit unprepared for just how from the very get, kind of going after it. I think she sort of gave what she got. I think she kind of, but I think both candidates, I think, could have spent more time sort of defining who they are, talking a little bit more about who they are, and maybe even talking a little bit more about General Paxton.
Guzman's whole theory of change tonight was to just attack Bush.
Yes.
Not even attack Paxton as much as she was attacking Bush. But when some of the questions came at her, they asked her about Operation Lone Star, which is about National Guard troops at the border. She talked about cops and qualified immunity. When they asked her about the state's abortion law, she said she's pro-life, but she did not talk, didn't take a position on the state's abortion law. Everything was focused on Bush, and it came at some expense.
It came at some expense, but each of the candidates took time to focus on Paxton, him not being a part of the debates. Do you think it hurt or helped him not being part of the debate tonight?
I mean, Paxton has just such considerable amount of baggage that I think at the beginning of the debate, you kind of have to say to yourself, I'm either going to go to none of these or all of these, right? I mean, you sort of have to figure out which one it is. And he sort of has made the strategic decision that he's not going to engage in any of them. Look, I mean, it could have been a lot worse for General Paxton tonight. You know, I mean, it could have been an hour-long, broadside about why he isn't going to come up. My real question is, it's clear he's going to be in a runoff. Is he going to still sort of not engage in a runoff? That's a risky strategy, Ed.
I don't think it's a winning strategy. I think that him not showing up tonight was good, because they would have mopped the floor with him if he was there. George P. Bush would have mopped the floor with Ken Paxton, which is saying a lot, because George P. Bush is not necessarily the best debater, but he would have been the target for all three of them. So yeah, I guess it's some addition by subtraction in this case, but he can't get away with it in a primary, in a runoff. The fortunate thing Ken Paxton has going for him right now is only 7% of voters have participated in this election. And that's total. That includes Democrats. So if you're looking at the Republican primary, it's like 4%. We're looking at maybe 7% total for Republicans. That's what Paxton needs in order to finish first in this. The runoff is a totally different story.
Totally different story, but of those who debated tonight, who do you think had the best showing?
Look, I mean, I think it's sort of hard, with the zingers to happen. By the way, I thought Congressman Gohmert was fine. I mean, we sort of got a little bit lost in the shuffle a little bit at sometime in the middle part of the debate. I think that Bush seemed a little more poised and practiced on his debating style, and I'm with you. Like, his resume is the thinnest of the three people that were debating tonight, but I think his sort of demeanor was calm. Eva Guzman hit her, compelling personal story, talked about growing up, talked about marrying a cop, talked about going from the factory to the Supreme Court. Her personal story is clearly the most compelling. Obviously the first Hispanic woman on the Texas Supreme Court. But I thought that at certain points, her attacking didn't seem like the most natural thing for her. And, it's almost like she was better when she was talking about herself and not as good attacking. So in my mind, I was going to say, because we have two candidates that are sort of fighting for number two, it was natural for them to attack each other. I just thought Bush was slightly more comfortable doing the attacking.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Gohmert actually seemed to hold his composure. And as much as it pains me to say, I think that George P. Bush had a better night than the rest. As a progressive like me being able to say that, it takes a lot.
It would hurt you more to say Louis Gohmert won the debate, though. Really.
Yeah, that would. I don't know that I could get there. But look, the food fight was, if nothing else, was entertaining tonight. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it will be like in the runoff.
Final question. Do you think anything happened tonight that will sway voters?
Look, if you were an undecided voter, you have plenty of information to chew on about this. I think if you were an undecided voter, you have to ask yourself, why was General Paxton not there? You heard more about that, I think, from Louis Gohmert than from any other candidate. And then I think the question is, if you're not for the incumbent, which one of these candidates were there? They all sort of made their case. I think they all made it uniquely, but I think there's absolutely stuff that can influence the race tonight.
I don't know if they were undecided as to who they're going to support. The question is, are they going to show up to vote or not? Because again, if you're going to look at 7% overall that have turned out so far, and 4% of those are in the Republican primary, you've got 90 some odd percent of voters who haven't voted. They're deciding whether or not they're going to show up. Are any of these candidates that they saw tonight people that they're motivated to show up for? If they saw someone they like, then maybe they are. But even then, we're looking at an increase from 7% to, what, 10% in this primary.
Primaries are always modest. I think the real question here is, did they make their case to the conservative voters who will show up? And each of them on the border, on life, on other things. I mean, I thought it was sort of interesting, you know, to hear them make their own pitch.
Well, guys, that is our time. We will let the voters decide. Ed Espinoza, Ted DeLisi, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your perspective on this debate. And we do want you to stay with us. Coming up next, we will highlight some of the Democratic candidates running for Texas Attorney General. You're watching Capitol Tonight. We'll be right back.